Alright guys, hope you're all doing well, hope you're all keeping safe. I've got quite a few topics that I want to cover on The Division 2 over the next couple of weeks and months. One of them is if Year 3 is a paid DLC or expansion, which I'm pretty sure it will be, albeit we've had no official communication about this. Will you be buying it? Are we even getting a DLC? Let's talk about it. Before I jump in guys, I will be covering Outriders on the channel when it is released. I need to satisfy that looter urge in me, and having played a little bit more of Outriders, I think this game is going to do that for me. So hopefully this is going to be something you guys will enjoy here on the channel. With that said though, let's talk The Division 2 Year 3 paid DLC. I think the first question we need to ask is, are we getting a DLC or expansion? Now I've seen plenty of people talking about Year 3 being a DLC, using that word, saying, you know, Year 3 is coming, what's this DLC going to contain, etc. But there's been no official communication about this from what I've seen. The specific wording used in the Ubisoft article is next major update. Where they talk about a new game mode coming with Year 3 along with an investigation into new ways to progress your agent with an emphasis on increasing build variety and viability. Now that to me doesn't sound like a DLC or expansion. It actually sounds more to me like an update, similar to what we've had where we've had Title Update 12 or Title Update 11, etc. But it doesn't sound to me like Warlords of New York, for example. To me, a DLC would need to include some sort of expansion on the story, which has not been confirmed. It is early, of course, and it's actually something I don't think is coming with this update, if I'm being honest. I thought if the devs were going to include a story here, that they would have revealed that information fairly early on, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Now, I hope I'm wrong, of course, but right now we've got confirmation of a new game mode, and what sounds like maybe some new gear and some weapons, along with some balance into the current gear and weapons, but nothing more. With that in mind then, I'm not seeing anything that would suggest we are getting a DLC, at least from the official communication. With that said, the new content coming is going to take a year or more to create. I believe it actually started being created before December based on a tweet that I saw from Trick Dempsey a while back. I could be wrong on that, but that's when I think it was when it did start. So it's probably going to take way more than a year, and I highly doubt it's going to take more than a year to just create a couple of new items and, you know, one new game mode. Let's not forget that Ubisoft have confirmed that the development of this content will be led by a group of project veterans at Massive, along with support from developers at Ubisoft Bucharest. Also, the fact that it's going to take a year, likely more, I suspect with Massive saying it won't be until the end of this year at the earliest until the new content goes live. I actually think it won't go live till next year in the first quarter of Ubisoft. And with Massive currently working on 2 other games in Star Wars and Avatar, I highly suspect Ubisoft will want Massive to bring in some revenue, and just one game mode and you know, a few little bits of items and stuff, it's not going to do that. This is one reason why I believe we're getting new content. I don't think it's because the devs saw the numbers and thought, do you know what, you know, there's still a lot of people playing, let's make some new content. I don't think that's the case. What I think it is that the devs are currently working on these 2 massive projects, and they're going to need some kind of cash flow, and adding new content here in the Division 2 will give them that cash flow. Only a DLC or expansion is going to do that. So whilst we've not had any official word yet, I'm confident that whatever we get for Year 3, it will be substantial enough for Ubisoft to think they can charge money for it. Now, a little while ago, I put out a poll here on the community tab asking you guys if Year 3 was paid, will you be purchasing it? If you want to take part in these polls, by the way, guys, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I do them pretty often. It's actually a great way to interact with me. I do check out the comments on those more than I do the comments on videos, just because there's a lot less and it's much easier to check through them. So with that said, let's take a look at the results and see what people are thinking. Alright, so I actually thought I put out the poll a couple of days ago. Turns out I didn't. and I must have dreamt of it, or maybe I put it up and just didn't actually send it. I'm not sure what happened, but I have put it up now. Currently, as of me making this video, it's been up for 31 minutes, and in that time we've had 491 votes, which is obviously, it's not the biggest sample size, to be honest. You know, I'm expecting this to get more like 5k votes, something like that. With that said, as you can see, just from what we have, preliminary results that we've got here, the majority right now are saying yes to purchasing a DLC for year free, with depends on content in second place, which, to be honest, is exactly what I expected. Thing is, the devs know that if they can give us some good content, people are going to buy it, regardless of how long it takes them, because most people playing now are either new and they're experiencing the season reruns for the first time, and so when those seasons end, they're going to get that new content and they're going to be invested, or they are die-hard fans, people who have stuck through everything and are still playing the game. Now, both audiences are going to buy new content, but I do think it will largely depend on what content the devs are bringing to the table, especially for those die-hard fans, because I think that'll be the turning point. Now, I've seen some things flying around on Twitter where legendary difficulty is on the list of things the devs want to consider opening to more missions and activities within the game. But aside from that, really have seen nothing else, which isn't a surprise. I don't think the devs are going to reveal anything in the near future. I don't think we're going to get anything until maybe the next Ubisoft Forward event, or maybe even E3 of this year. But there's been nothing at all. There's, you know, and usually you'll find something on Twitter, but aside from the legendary difficulty stuff, there's been nothing else. So, and that's not through lack of trying within the community. I've seen plenty of posts, people asking about PvP, etc., but they're not talking. So we've really got nothing at this point. We don't know anything aside from a new game mode and some balancing and maybe some gears and stuff. For me personally, I'm going to buy the new content regardless of what it is, because of my YouTube channel. I owe it to you guys who watch me for the Division content, which is probably most of you, to cover whatever I can about the game. And if that means I've got to buy content, even if it's content I don't want to, then I'll do that to make sure that you guys get the best content possible for the game. If, however, I was not covering the game, I would probably still say yes to buying a year free DLC, but it would depend on what content we are getting. If it's just a new game mode, even if it's somewhat like Survival 2.0 with some new guns and some gear, I probably wouldn't purchase that unless it was at a similar price for what we got for Seasons, for example, which is about £8 here in the UK. If the devs want, you know, 20 plus or a similar price to what we paid for Warlords, which I believe was about £30 here in the UK, they're going to have to bring some significant stuff to the table. And I do reckon they're going to do that. I don't think there's going to be a situation where we see the new content and it is just nothing. I do think we're going to get a lot. The devs already confirmed they want to take their time making this new content because they want this content to have a significant impact on the game. And that gives me, you know, high hopes. It's more than what they revealed so far. With that said, I've seen some stuff from Yannick where he said there's still a lot of stuff that they're considering having in this new content. So I don't think there's really a plan at this point. What I think it is they've got a list of stuff and they're just looking at the time frames on this stuff and they're deciding, okay, well, what are we going to add? Do we have enough time for this stuff? And they'll put it in if they can. If we can get some new game modes, like new, as well as new gear and weapons and story and location and things like that, then I'd buy it for sure. And like I said, I think most people will, to be honest. If we get all the stuff that we want, then I think most people are going to buy it. I don't think a lot of people are expecting to get Warlords of New York level of content. But with that said, you know, the longer that they take to develop this stuff, the more expectations we get for what that content should be. So I think they do need to make it clear early on what we can expect. At the moment, we've only got a couple of things that they've confirmed. We'll have to wait and see what else they've got. But I will be buying a year free DLC if there is the content that I want to see in there. Alright guys, I've rambled on far too long for this video. I wasn't expecting it to be this long, but hopefully you've got where I'm coming from. I will be purchasing the DLC, and I'll say this now, I hope they take as long as they need in order to make sure that whatever content they bring out, it is substantial enough to warrant us paying for it, and it is substantial enough to actually make changes to the game. I'd love to see another Warlords of New York type DLC. I suspect the DLC that we get, or the content we get, might be similar in size, but not in scope. And what I mean by that is, I think we're going to get a lot, but I don't think we're going to get a new location, and I don't think we're going to get loads of like new other like story, for example, which is something we got from Warlords of New York. But I do think there will be a lot of new gear, a lot of new weapons. I think there'll be more than one game mode, and I think there'll be a raft of other stuff in the game, just not those two major things. But that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Until the next one, Epic out.